This week on the audio podcast, episode 79, Wibbly Shutter Wobble. There's a major update. There's another major update. There's a minor update, but there is no logic update. Sam is missing in action, and there's an opportunity to see if you can see Scott and Sam as they attend events this week. All that, plunder, and Adam Yanch is here once more. It's This Week on the Audio Podcast.
Do it.
It's Monday, the 19th of November. That makes it time for the Audio Podcast. Woohoo!
Hooray!
Go Audio Podcast. This is episode 79, Wibbly Wobbly Shutter. I'm Scott. This week I'm joined by...
Adam Yanch.
Hello, Adam. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm just trying to... Hold on. There we go.
Oh.
I wanted to turn down the brightness on the iPad because it was lighting my face up in a weird way on the video stream. And of course, remember everyone, we've been running the YouTube video stream for the audio podcast for quite a few weeks now. It's an interesting little addition to the podcasting kind of situation, but of course you can still get the audio podcast in audio, and you can get it in video from YouTube. Don't forget as well, you can catch our notes at theaudiopodcast.co.uk, and you can follow us on Twitter, The Audio Podcast. There you go.
Indeed so. So this is show 79, and I guess it's time to get straight into the news.
Yeah. Now, can I just ask you,
Yes,
does the title of today's show, have you told everyone what today's show title is?
Wibbly Shutter Wobble.
And why is that? Is that to do with the first?
It's a
news
combination of the first and the final item.
The very final one?
I think
Or the
so.
final one in the news?
No, the second from last plunder item.
Which is also the first plunder item.
Yeah, so it's a combination of the first news and the first plunder item. Wibbly Shutter Wobble.
Okay, well, let's get on with the first news item. Camera sounds.
Yeah, so Sonic Salute have released a sound effects library of 90 sound files of camera noises generated by cameras produced between 1960 and 2010, including
Way.
shutters, flash charges, winders, and obviously the flash discharges. I
Now,
thought it
that's
was cool.
Well, I mean, you and I are both very interested in photography, so I imagine they take a wide range of things. I mean, you're talking 70 years worth of camera technology there, so it'll go easily from your analog through to your digital SLRs.
Yeah.
What other kind of range have we got? Have we got like compacts and those little 135s and Polaroids and things like that?
Yeah, it's a very broad stretch. Here, let's see a look at. There is a I just go and get the track list here, and we can have a look here. Oh yeah, there's loads of stuff all the way from Canon 500Ns, EOS 5D Mark IIs, it's a Mark III they've got in there. What else have they got? I'm a Nikon user, so let's see what they got Nikon wise. D300s. I have a D200, so so much on an F501.
Do they have an Olympus OM30?
Not an OM30, but they do have an OM10.
Oh, that'll do. That's close enough. That's my baby.
The moment I saw that, I thought you'd be keen to hear about it. Yeah, so that's very it's a nice collection. These things always fascinate me. The way that people build these sound libraries and the use of them, and I guess for people who are really, really knowledgeable about these kind of things, inaccuracies must be incredibly frustrating.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they watch a detective crime drama where the photographer's taking pictures of the bloody corpse, and they just can't get into the actual action of what's happening because they can see a Nikon camera there on the screen, but no, it's actually a Canon that they can hear, and it just takes them out of the scene. It must be terrible.
So, if you're, if you're really interested in these things, or it sounds like it's suitable, the Sonic Salute have the library available now. You can actually listen to a demo of every single sound if you want to. As a demo piece, though, they have put some noise underneath it. So, you know what I mean. So if you want the full quality version, or if you want to use it, then you need to make a purchase on it. But nonetheless, I thought that was an interesting kind of quirky sound effect library, and it's been a while since we've really talked about one in detail. So I thought it was a good idea to,
whack one in. Good idea.
Whack one in.
Now, I think we've got some big news from one particular company this week, haven't we? Because we have some Steinberg news, basically.
Oh, yes. So Steinberg have got two big announcements. So shall we do the first? Well, let's just do them in the order they're in.
They're basically linked almost. They're linked at the hip because it's to do with Nuendo and Cubase, which are siblings. Would you class them? I'd class them as siblings. The bigger brother, the little brother, or the bigger sister, little sister, Nuendo and Cubase. Yeah. And both are receiving significant updates. Are these like big updates?
Yeah, these are version number changes. These are major version number changes here. So it's Nuendo 6 and Cubase 7. Now there's two little bits of detail we probably need to get right here. Cubase 7 and Cubase Artist 7, which is the reduced version of Cubase 7, they're due for release on December the 5th. Nuendo, the new version of Nuendo is due sometime Q1 2013. So this is an advance announcement of Nuendo is on its way, and a definite announcement of Cubase can be yours on December the 5th, 2012.
And of course, Nuendo has more features, particularly regarding things like multi-channel support for film and more film features. But having a look through both of the sets of details, which of course you can click through from the notes to see details of these new versions. Taking a look at both of them, I think there's a general, it's like they both get the same bunch of updates, but Nuendo gets some more because it's the bigger package, including what every DAW is now getting, which is a channel strip plugin, which looks pretty, the Steinberg one looks pretty comprehensive. It starts with a noise gate, and then it goes all the way through everything, your compressors, EQs, and that kind of thing. And it's all put into this new, what looks to me like a new mixing desk type UI. It's a shame that Sam's not with us, actually, because he's the Cubase guy. I was going to ask him about what he thought about it.
Yeah, that's very true. There is a new mixing console which has got a version of that put into Cubase, and obviously there's a lot of development in Nuendo. Obviously, they're going to share development team or crossover to an extent, aren't they? I think when you were comparing them against each other, though, and the features in these new releases, I think the one thing that a lot of people maybe forget, though, is that Cubase is traditionally a little bit more creative orientated than, say, Nuendo. So Nuendo's has more of a kind of Pro Tools lineage in terms of audio production, in terms of mastering and that kind of recording sort of practice, rather than the kind of creative Cubase Logic sort of route. So
that's right, and that shows up in Cubase 7 actually getting some new songwriting type upgrades. So things like the new chord tracker for composition assistance, which doesn't get mentioned in the Nuendo update, probably because it's not going to be in Nuendo. So there's still, it's not like Nuendo is like the be-all and end-all of Steinberg's products, and Cubase is a cut-down version. It's still that they kind of overlap significantly, but have also niches covered, individual niches covered. So you wouldn't necessarily do all your work in Nuendo if you're writing songs, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely the right tool for the right job, isn't it? Which is, I've been saying that a lot recently, actually. So something which I didn't have an opportunity to really read about, though I think I was actually shocked that we hadn't mentioned Cubase 7 earlier, but then I looked around and realized that there wasn't a lot of pre-release material, actually, so pre-announcement material about, so I thought we didn't pick it up. But there is also in Cubase 7 VST Connect SE, which apparently allows you to record over the network, over the internet, which I think is pretty exciting.
Excellent, excellent. So that's going to be the next big area to go into. It seems that maybe there seems to be a lot of DAWs tend to do this thing. It was the same with that the freeze functionality, which I think came in Logic first.
Yeah,
and then all the other DAWs basically copied the same idea. It's happened with channel strict plugins. It's happening with other things, and it's, they really do kind of follow each other. But it's okay because really each is tribal. DAW use is tribal. You don't jump DAW unless you have a bloody good reason to.
That's very true, and it's also nice that it means you don't really need to jump as well, isn't it? Because you can just, if a really cool feature arrives in something that you don't use, you can be fairly certain it's going to turn up in the reasonably near future, ready.
Unless you're using Logic.
Yes,
that's a bit unfair. But I've noticed that all the major DAWs apart from Logic have had a major update recently. Yeah. And Logic hasn't been updated, and it seems hard to find any information about it. I think there was a little buzz around when Final Cut was released, Final Cut Pro 10.
Well, and the buzz at that point was please don't kill Logic, wasn't it?
But really what's happened is Logic 9 is still the current version, and it keeps going, and it could be another year before we know anything about it. Anyway, that's possible future news, and nothing we can really go into now. What we can go into is
don't segue.
Oh,
don't segue. But I'll let you segue in a minute. The final thing we need to mention is just the grace periods on Cubase Innuendo. So for the update. So if you're on Cubase 6.5 or Cubase Artist 6.5 and you registered since October the 25th, then you get a free. You'll be able to get a free download to 7. And likewise, from November the 14th onwards, if you're previously used an earlier version of Nuendo, a qualifying earlier version of Nuendo, then you'll be able to upgrade to Nuendo 6.
And both of those, anyone listening now, if you buy either of those products now, you're covered, so that's fine. So I'll do my segue now. I can't remember where I was.
Segue now.
I'm going to segue now into Manchester UK Max Meetup. It seems that Manchester's quite a hub for kind of codey, hacky stuff at the moment, because we were at Hack Manchester a few weeks ago and did the 24-hour live podcast feed, something I will never forget. There have been some other things in Leicester. The Ableton thing
that's this coming Saturday.
The M4U thing that we went to in February. But Manchester is also, it seems to be quite a decent hub for this kind of thing, and now they're offering a Maximus P meetup.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the group behind it?
No, I don't at all. I should probably put a caveat on the fact that I've actually moved to Manchester, so as a consequence, I'm paying a little bit more attention to things in Manchester at the moment. But certainly, this is 21st November at MadLab, which is up in the Northern Quarter. I'm planning on going after work. I'm going to head up after work and go check it out, and I'll probably have a report for Audio Podcast next week about how it went. And I don't know if this is related to the cycling drive, but cycling have been having a little bit of a push behind there being kind of max user groups. So I don't know if this is part of their push or part of a related thing or not. But I just I thought it'd be an interesting thing to go along and check out, and should be fun. Word.
Well, if you come across a Bristol one, let me know. If I come across a Bristol one, I'll let you know.
Yeah, for sure, and we can get it here. And if you're part of if you run a Max group or a PD group or a SuperCollider group or a Chuck group or an Ableton group or a Pro Tools group or a Logic group or anything audio related, then let us know here at the Audio Podcast, and we're more than happy to plug it, or we'd or maybe even be able to organize an interview if we think there's some kind of something that might be worth discussing. So that's kind of cool.
True. It's true. Back to updates now, Scott.
Well, you know how we've just had those big Cubase Nuendo updates. So they're major updates here.
Yeah.
And I know that it was too much to ask for Logic to have had a major upgrade,
or even a minor upgrade.
But DP has had a minor update
to 8.01.
Yeah. Now, this is a classic example of Motu, and the one thing I dislike about Motu. I could find no information about what the minor update to 8.01 actually did, other than download it. Once you've downloaded it, uncompress it, and once you've uncompressed it, read the README. So, unfortunately, there is no Scott highlight of this minor release because I just couldn't be bothered to log into the site, to go find the download, to go see if I even was allowed to download the update file, to unpack it, to read the README. So that's why there is no highlight.
That's the thing. Probably the thing that most annoys me about Motu is the fact that you have to log into their website to download stuff, even like manuals. And it's like, why should you have to log in to do that? You know, I could just get a free login and download a manual. So it's not like you're stopping me from downloading something that I should be paying for. Why don't you just have a lot of this stuff? Maybe not for the big stuff, like big downloads, but if you just want to go online just to get a manual for some simple thing. Yeah. Oh, it's just I don't know what my password is for that, for Motu. It's not something I log into very often. So you have to go through your email, find it, realize that you don't know what it is, then you have to go in and try lots of different passwords until maybe one of them works, and if it doesn't, then you've got to go through the re-password mechanism. That's the one thing that bugs me about Motu is, it's a website related thing, kind of like the NI website, which is annoying as well, but in a different way.
If I had a cent for every time I'd mistype my password on the Motu login site, I would be earning slightly more than my streams being paid than I do for having a stream paid.
Nice.
Which brings me to an article by Pitchfork this week. Damon Krukowski. There we go.
As it's written here.
About online streaming royalties. So I picked out two highlights, and then I don't know if you've had opportunity to look through the article, Adam, or not, but we can chat.
I haven't because again I was on my lunch break, so when I went through, so I kind of looked at certain things in detail. The one thing I don't know what the argument. I can only guess what the argument of the article is, which is basically that trying to earn money from music on Pandora requires you to have a huge number of plays to get, because you must get such a meager amount of money from it. And is it not kind of the same with Spotify?
Yes. So to give you an idea, the highlights I put out the article here. It would take songwriting royalties for roughly 300 I cannot read.
312,000
plays on Pandora to earn the profit of one LP sale, and then a close second, 1,000 singles in 1988 gave us the earning potential of more than 13 million streams in 2012.
Now, basically, these quotes paint a picture. I would like to kind of de-bias these quotes because they still put out a point. The problem I have is that a stream, we're talking about 312,000 plays on Pandora, right? But then you're also talking about one LP, but you can get multiple plays from an LP, whereas I know it doesn't make up the difference, but it's not a completely smooth comparison. So, saying, pressing 1,000 singles in 1988 gives you the earning potential of 13 million streams. That doesn't mean you have to have 13 million separate streams. It's just the number of playbacks. And of course, fine. If you take 1,000, that would have to be what's that? 13,000 plays of each single, effectively. So yes, the numbers are still skewed in the wrong direction. But just to highlight, that the comparisons that they're using are a little bit misleading.
Well, I'm saying that's certainly very true. And I think the other thing that struck me about it is the fact that under the previous LP kind of CD models, people would buy a CD, listen to it, and then there was the entire second-hand CD market that existed as well. So, there are lots of CDs that are being resold, and and that kind of thing there. And really, artists don't see the proceedings of that kind of resale. Whereas in this kind of space, then everybody has to buy it.
But think about it this way, right? The internet is almost the perfect way to get something played. Would you prefer to sell records, or physical records, or even just single downloads, which can be played an infinite number of times, potentially, or would you like to be paid for each playback you get on a stream? It's one or the other. If you're not known very well, you want to go for the selling single units, and if you thought this thing was going to get played significantly, then you might want to go for the streaming option. But you don't even have to have one or the other. Have both. Use Pandora as a method of building up hype, because people still buy music, and people still buy physical music, LPs, CDs, and things like that. I don't know. I take these kinds of articles with a pinch of salt, because in the end, the music industry is still running, and people are still making a living from the music industry. So it's not like Spotify and Pandora are threatening to destroy everything about the music industry, and once that's happened, then there's not going to be any music ever again because of Pandora and Spotify.
Yeah. I think I'm saying to finish off the article, really, just for completeness, at the very end, he actually says that he got into music and recording through punk rock, and in actual fact, he's kind of returned back to those roots, and as a consequence, you can get all of the recordings for free off Bandcamp. Anyway, so in many ways, he'd rather enjoy the goodwill of having given it away, and the goodwill that nature's with the listener, rather enjoy that than the kind of meager payout that you get from the streaming services. And his final observation, which I agree with, I think is an interesting point, is that all of the companies involved, Pandora and Spotify, neither of them actually made a profit ever. So they're two loss-making businesses. So if you're paying so little money to the artists whose music you're streaming, and you're still not making any money, there is a fundamental problem in terms of sustainability of these kind of services. And I think that's an interesting observation.
Well, we'll see how Pandora and Spotify get on. And of course, there are rumors that Apple are interested in that space as well, though we'll see about that.
There was that big hurrah, wasn't there, because Amazon launched their service and Google Music as well appeared, and everything just kind of fizzled out a little bit, didn't it, really, after that, I think?
Well, maybe it's just kind of rolling on, and it's just there's no big news, or maybe they're just not being picked up in the same way. Who knows? I'm sure we'll cover it in a future audio podcast episode. So let's move on, shall we, Scott? I'll have to admit the next one I have not read either.
Well, I read this last week. I think this was an item that I almost put in last week's show and bumped, and there we go. Why distant music sounds wrong.
That's dissonant, not distant.
Dissonant, yes. Yeah. So the most interesting thing that I got. Oh, so this is an article from Nature. You can have a read to it. The most interesting thing I found about it was that I didn't realize there were people who can't perceive pitch. I just didn't realize that was a thing. Like I knew that there were people who were, kind of tone deaf, for want of a better phrase, but I didn't realize there were people who just don't actually hear pitch differences. And an interesting the finding out of the article is the fact that those people still perceive dissonance.
So they, because I was just about to ask, does that mean that all music sounds the same to them?
The article doesn't mention any more about that. I think it's
the complexity, of course, is that pitch is only one part of one aspect of music. It's not, there are so many different other things: timbre, rhythm, all these kinds of things. So I wonder if, obviously the article must have dealt with portioning those off and saying we're just going to deal with pitch, but yeah, interesting thing to have researched, I'd say.
Yeah, it's called AMUSA. AMUSIA is the condition, which is an inability to distinguish between different musical tones. I'm quoting from the article there.
Different musical tones. That's a bit ambiguous.
Yeah.
Does that mean timbre tone, or does that mean pitch tone?
Well, I presumed it was pitch, as the rest of the article is a discussion about how most people presume that dissonance is due to, dissonance is the perception of intervals which are dissonant, like a minor second or something like that. Whereas it goes on to say that that's actually not the case. Like, that's not the case. It's,
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We can talk about dissonance, and then we can talk about dubstep, Scott.
Awesome.
I don't mind dubstep.
I salute you, Adam Jansch, for what is a spectacular segue there. Fantastic stuff. Are you referring to the fact that there is a dubstep release for Spark?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Yes, I am, he says. So, Arturia have announced that the Spark dubstep is now in existence, designed for dubstep production. From the blurb, perfect for putting together tomorrow's pure wobble and femic hits, or revisiting EDM and hip-hop stylings and dub steroids.
I see.
You got to get it to him. That is great blurb.
Well, you get a good blurb writer. You could write good blurb all day. That's what I've always said. No, that's the first time I've ever said that, but it holds true. It holds true.
So we got 30 cutting-edge kits, 480 instruments, 960 MIDI drum patterns, available as RTAS, AU, or VST3.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yippee. Yeah. So we come to the end of the news.
Surely not.
Well, we do, but what we do actually now come to is an interesting segment, which we've been trialing for 2 or 3 weeks now.
Yeah, I really quite like it, actually.
This week on Twitter.
That might be trademarked by somebody else, actually, though. I don't know if it is. Yeah, that phrase. Yeah.
How can you can't trademark that? How can you trademark that?
No, but I mean that the I just mean that the phrase this week in Twitter might have something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, but I don't see how you could do that. That would be like copywriting like a generic sentence and saying that no one can say that without paying us a royalty. I say we say it, and then they'll never hear it because they probably aren't going to listen to the audio podcast, episode 79.
That's fair enough. In which case, I will momentarily just say that if you enjoy our audio tech coverage and would enjoy a more encompassing tech coverage, including all of the computing and mobile phone world, then This Week in Technology, TWIT, would be a podcast that you would really love listening to, and it's on a Sunday night at 11 p.m. UK time. There we go. Yeah. So in case I'm sure they'll be quite happy about that. So essentially what we do is we have a look through Twitter and just, retweet things that we think are of interest and stuff that we kind of like the look of and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's it. That's what we do.
Maybe we should call it twat. So we're getting dangerously close to another word, which we can't say.
So one of the things I'm just going forward now, Adam. Well, that's what I
was hoping you were going to do.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love the most about doing this is the way that we don't actually have to read all of the articles. We can just kind of go away. So, according to Mixmag, Sonar is moving to Iceland.
Sonar? You mean the people who make Cakewalk? Or made Cakewalk?
Apparently, yeah.
Ah. What? I mean, no, wait, hold on. Sonar is the name of the DAW. What's the name of the company?
Cakewalk.
No, but the name Cakewalk has been used by Roland for something else recently.
Yeah, because didn't they buy it as well?
I don't know. I don't know, but that's the Sonar is one DAW that we never talk about. Even when we're listing DAWs, we just completely forget to mention it.
I think it's a completely different Sonar as well, so that's even funnier.
Oh, I suppose it is.
Anyway, PureMix Online. PureMix have a parallel compression to get punchy drums, so that's actually a worthwhile little kind of a tutorial, which is actually worth looking at. So that's kind of fun, you know. I like that. Of course, you can't have this, do you? You don't have this. Do you have the feed there, Adam? No, I don't know if you do.
No, I can't get it. Because these are the people that the Audio Podcast Twitter account follows, yeah?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't get that.
That's fair enough. Cakewalk Inc. Check out our new Cakewalk Mutant R3 Revolution store page. There you go.
Okay.
Just as we were talking about Cakewalk, we might as well link it, I think, there.
Okay.
You don't think so?
Anything else good?
And there's always kind of fun stuff. I think Presonus made an announcement just before we came on air, and I'm just trying to see if I can find a tweet about it.
Presonus?
I think it was.
Ah. I quite like Presonus.
Yeah, I do too. I tell you, I don't know, something that we're going to talk about next week. But have you Dolby Atmos? Have you heard about Dolby Atmos?
No, I haven't.
Fair enough. If for anybody who listens to the show, watches the show, if you've had any experience with a Dolby Atmos system, then I'd really love to talk about it in the next couple of weeks on the show. It fascinates me, and I think with The Hobbit on release real soon, it would be cool to find out a little bit more about the Atmos system. It's the upgrade to the current Dolby surround systems, and it's designed to include height information as well as actual kind of left-right width information in the kind of audio field.
Oh, one tweet that I got, which isn't technically to do with music, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that macOS 10.9 is supposedly going to feature Siri and the new Maps API.
Ooh.
So, yawn.
And we can all get lost.
What other iOS feature are they going to put into into macOS? And just put it in wholesale and not actually think about how it might be better to implement it for macOS.
It'd be ace if they got rid of the keyboard.
Out.
The next set of like Mac Pros had no keys on the keyboard and instead just had like a...
No, but Mac Pros don't have a keyboard.
No, MacBook Pros, sorry. That's what I'm saying.
And it's just a big touch surface. It's just a big screen like that, you know.
Oh, Electronic Musician have Module Mania. How to shop for your first analog synth. I like that. That's a cool. I like that. That's a cool little thing. Yeah.
Oh, can I put in a respect to my, because I also got a new synth recently, which you won't have picked up because I bought it whilst I was offline. The Roland Gaia SH01 virtual analog synth, which is very nice.
Fantastic. Nice.
Let's come on, Scott.
I think we've made it there.
Yeah, well, I haven't been paying any attention. So
you haven't been paying any attention. That's fine. Fantastic stuff. Okay, let's do. Okay then. I was just getting into some more stuff that I was kind of interested in. It's all right. It's okay. I've stopped.
You see, we should make a little list of them as they go through the week, and then and we can go through them quickly rather than scrolling through and having the gap. Anyway, and then in the other section as well it's this Saturday, I believe, the Creative Technology Live event.
In Leicester?
in Leicester. Now, the two guys we chatted to last week
Yes.
on the show, they were going to be there. It's an Ableton show, Ableton live show.
Yeah. It's going to include a demonstration of the next version of Ableton Live as well.
Ooh.
At the end of the day.
Is that going to have Harker Verb in it?
Harker Verb.
Just a little background on that. Our good friend Alex Harker made a convolution reverb for Ableton, I believe, and I'm calling it Harker Verb. No one else will know what I'm talking about, but that's what I'm calling it.
Fantastic.
And the one thing about Creative Technology Live is that the audio podcast is going to be there. I won't be there, but Scott will. Is Sam going to be there?
Yeah. Yes. Sam and I are both going to be there. In actual fact, there's a slim chance I won't be there, but there is a certainty that Sam will be there. So
excellent. So
that's a little unusual, but yes.
Are we going to work dispatches from that into next week's show, or is it a live thing like Hack Manchester?
I don't think we're not planning on going live, but we can do if we choose to, so we might do. More likely, we'll probably put together a little extra show, which will just have some stuff from it. We'll probably cut it into the end of this to the end of next week's show, though. But it'll probably be available as a standalone as well at some point. So
sweet.
That should be cool. I think it'd be really fun if you're there and you're there. Feel free to come and see either Sam or I. Neither of us will be wearing our headphones, so we'll look a little bit different to what we normally look like. But other than that, it'll be fun.
Scott won't have two halves of the earth attached to the side of his head.
And with that devastating assessment, let's head to the plunder. So, just before we head into the plunder proper, I've got two little mentions that I've been instructed to do. First of all, for our Americans there, have a happy Thanksgiving on the 22nd of November.
Yay!
And for Adam Yanch, who I should be correctly calling Dr. Adam Yanch, I'd like to extend congratulations from the audio podcast team.
Oh, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I graduated on Thursday last. Technically, I've been a doctor since August, because that's when I got my piece of paper. But yes, I got to shake the hand of Big Stacks, Patrick Big Stacks Stewart. It was fun, and it was enjoyable to wear red robes and a cool hat instead of the normal robes and a flat black hat. Awesome. So into the plunder.
Indeed.
And it appears to be an advert for John Lewis.
Yes. It is clearly indicated under the plunder for people who check out the website that this is as tenuous as it could ever get, but nonetheless it's here. So it is this year's John Lewis Christmas advert with the Doctor reading his introduction to the Weeping Angels from Blink over the top of it in description of the snowmen, which are part of the advert. Basically, you've got to watch it. It's just really cool. And if you're actually into Doctor Who, there is actually one of the Weeping Angel episodes on iPlayer right now this week as well. So it's all tied in nicely. It is cool.
I don't watch Doctor Who. No, I haven't seen the advert, and I don't watch Doctor Who, so I would not get the Weeping Angels reference or anything. I probably might recognise the Doctor because you can't really miss him.
Fantastic. There you go. Cool. And we do have one other piece of plunder. Now, this bit of plunder was actually bumped from last week and possibly even from the week before, actually. So I think I'm going to mention it, though I'm aware that we've been on quite a while now, actually. So I don't know.
Let's go through it quickly and go through the item of plunder that couldn't, but that now will. So let's go, Scott. Traveling and working, Pro Tooler blog.
Pro Tooler blog have an article about plugins for traveling, and I didn't really buy the premise of the article, because the premise of the article was about setting up your rig, setting up your plugins to go away for traveling. And I was just thinking, well, you just install all your plugins surely in Leaf. It's, that's what that is. But then it made me think about the practicalities of working while traveling and the kind of audio things you have to take and how to transport them. And it was really just a kind of query for suggestions from listeners or things like that as to things that maybe are indispensable or even good ways of transporting things. That's been something that's puzzled me for a while. I prefer to cycle. I'm a big public transport user. I prefer all those things to driving cars. So as a consequence, it's a challenge that I deal with all the time. I was just interested as to what kind of thoughts people had or what suggestions people may have about how to transport equipment, or if you're traveling really light, what is the equipment you really should take with you? What are the most essential things to have? So,
well, yeah, I mean, regarding plugins, I suppose, yeah, install them all. But what about something like Contact Player or a big sample library or something like that? And you might not be able to take all of those files with you because they're gigs and gigs and gigs big. So, there are still things to think about in the software realm as well. Yeah, and then, you've got to think about, okay, I'm probably going to be wearing headphones. So what I would probably do is do work that didn't require a monitor speakers.
Mm.
And have it on headphones, and then because you can't tailor your plugins that much, can you?
No, well, that's why I didn't really buy the premise of the article. I would agree entirely that traveling is a good time for compositional ideas, for sketching ideas, for arrangement work perhaps, and even for some kind of the beginnings of some mixing. But you wouldn't really want to finish. You wouldn't want to finish a mix or do a lot of work on a mix on a pair of headphones in a noisy environment, in terms of getting a high standard product. So,
so that is if you head to our TAP website. If you head to the audio podcast website, theaudiopodcast.co.uk, you can actually get the link for that thing. Sorry, Scott, my brain is kind of disconnecting now, so it's probably good we've come to the end about traveling and working with Pro Tools, which, of course, you probably couldn't really do Pro Tools traveling before the latest version came out anyway, because you needed to have hardware pretty much the whole time. Anyway.
Well, that's true. That was what the M-Box was about, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that little one that was just a USB stick with a headphone socket on it, which was basically just a glorified dongle. Anyway, so that, along with all of the other show notes and links, are available at theaudiopodcast.co.uk/show/79. And you can also keep up to date on things at the website and at the Audio Podcast Twitter account. And have I missed anything there?
No, that was absolutely fantastic, Adam. I feel partially redundant.
I always feel like I go through that and then I've missed one or two vital bits. But anyway, so that's the situation. I have been and continue to be Adam Yanch, hopefully for next week.
Fantastic stuff. And I'm Scott Hewitt, and this has been episode 79 of the Audio Podcast.
Yeah!
Boo.